So bring your burdens to the living God. He'll burn away. So bring your burdens to the living God. He'll burn away. So bring your burdens to the living God. He'll burn away. So bring your burdens to the living God. He'll burn away.
Good evening. Hope everybody is doing well. Kind of hard not to be fired up with that song. For me, anyway. I don't know. I just, I fell madly in love with it. Anyway, as I said, I hope everyone is doing well. Got quite a few news articles up. And, well, not a ton, but 6. A lot of crazy stuff today, including a shooting at a school. Now, I want folks to pay particular attention to how this was handled, this shooting today, and how different it was in comparison to, well, most of the others. The biggest thing that I want to bring to people's attention is how quickly they identified the shooter and let any and all information be known that there was to be known for the most part. And what am I getting at? Well, apparently this kid was heavily picked on and went to the school, I guess, multiple times, nothing. And I'm not excusing anything, I'm just telling the whole story. And apparently nothing was ever done about his turmoil in school. And then I guess he had a younger sister or something, if the information I read is true and correct. He had a younger sister that was starting to get picked on, and once again, the school was notified. If I read the article correct, school was notified in that instance too, and in which nothing was done. Again, not making excuses for anybody, but I want to make sure the whole story gets out there. They don't mind the whole story this time getting out there. Why? Well, because they don't lose, right? Like the situation with that thing in Tennessee that shot up that school, and you still don't have a manifesto from that. I don't think so. I think part of it or something was released or something, but I'm pretty sure not all of it was. That is probably the biggest identifier that somebody can use as to whether or not we are being told the truth. Now, I don't want to run and jump and say whether or not it's a false flag operation and all that, because, hey, I don't think that the situation down in Tennessee was a false flag operation. I think it was something that happened that they were trying to shove under the rug because it directly went against their agenda. Again, this particular incident that happened in Iowa, it wasn't harmful to their agenda. Okay, and in fact, maybe they could turn it around a little bit, use it in their benefit, which is why they're making sure that the information is getting out that this was a troubled youth that was picked on, and consequently his younger sister was being picked on, and this was the action that he decided to take. Again, I'm not. There is no side for me to pick here. There is right and wrong. That's the only sides I see. It is wrong to go in and shoot up a school, no matter what. It is wrong. There is no way to right that. It is wrong. It wouldn't have been as frustrating for me reading the story if it wasn't the only victim that died of their wounds was a 6th grader. That is what gets me. From what I understand, a principal, a couple of teachers, I guess maybe, were shot. Again, I'm not saying anything about this is right. But that is, how do you say that without making it sound... There is no way to say it without making it sound bad. Those are valid targets. Not, again, in any support of what went on. I want to make that very, 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 very clear. But just like police departments and courthouses and stuff like that, in my opinion, would be valid targets for protesters, not the Little Caesars, not the 7-Eleven, not the little sub shop. Those aren't valid targets. When I say valid target, I'm not justifying. What I'm saying is that's logical. The only way shooting a 6th grader would be, and again, there is no right. I want to make that clear, because otherwise people will be like, did you hear what he... No, the only way that would make that a valid target is if that 6th grader was involved in some of the hazing. And again, I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm saying all of this to reinforce what I was saying previously about this doesn't harm their agenda. They can actually work with this, and while it won't bring them a lot of gain in any way, it's definitely not going to cause them harm. They might be able to somehow profit off of it, if you will. But yeah, that's how you know. When they're not hiding nothing, they'll release the information. The longer they take to release information, after a certain point, right? Once they know who it is, once, families have been notified and stuff like that. Like I said, we still haven't gotten official release of the manifesto from that shooting in Tennessee. So, big difference. It's important to be able to know these differences and to be able to identify them yourselves. Because if mass chaos were to break out and say they decided to cut off the internet, you wouldn't have me or any other channel to go to get information. You would have to take whatever information that is available to you and discern yourself as to what your best course of action would be from there. And And that's one mindset that I really try to push, because I see a lot of the channels, and I get it. I guess I don't get it, but that's because I'm a different person. I've got integrity. I get why they massage their viewers and stuff like that and do everything they can to get more viewers and more views and more subscribers. I get it. I get the name of the game. It's kind of, you gotta choose which master you serve. That's all I can say. And you can't choose both. You can't even choose a little bit of man and the rest God. You have to choose one. So I've made my choice, and whoopee, the consequences is I got a shitty little YouTube channel. Woo. I'm not going to tarnish my relationship with the Father over a shitty little YouTube channel. Not even to make it a big not so shitty YouTube channel, because I could produce a pretty decent channel if I wanted to, but I don't want it to. Not really interested in putting that much time into it. I'm already like, nah. I'm glad I got a couple of days coming off, though. I've been playing around with a game called VTOL VR, and I'm getting somewhere. I still don't know how to use the GPS bombs, but I've already made my own repaint. So that's kind of a funny thing. I'm typically the kind of person that runs before I crawl. Yeah, that's normal for me. So yeah, I'm already repainting aircraft. For aircraft, I don't even know how to use the weapon systems on yet. Some of them I know. I got the cannon down pat. Anywho, that's my goal. My days off is learning how to use the weapon systems proficiently, so I can go shoot people in the face. Or vice versa. Probably a lot of vice versa. I freaked some kid out earlier today, though. I told him, I said, dude, don't worry, I got the flying. I was hoping he would teach me a little bit of something about the weapons. I'm talking about little kid like screaming, you know. It was hilarious, because he kept thinking I was going to crash the plane. And I was just doing my normal idiot type of flying. He kept thinking I was going to crash the plane. It was hilarious. Anyway, I told one other guy that showed me around on a few things, I can now successfully land on the carriers. So that's what me and him was doing, was carrier practice. But anyway, I told him before we got into a server doing the practice, I told him, I said, yeah, I'm going to be hovering around with the F-15. Well, they don't call it an F-15, but essentially that's what it is. And he goes, that's not the VTOL one, you know, the F-35 equal, which I forget what it is, T-45 or something, I don't know. But anyway, I'm like, no, I'm in the F-15. He's like, but that doesn't have VTOL. Like, you don't know how I hover. So I made a quick little video. Oh, hang on. Let's see. There we go. Now I just gotta find this thing. There we go. This is VTOL VR. I'm in a F-15 wannabe, waiting for the AWACS to take off. on my screen draw. Good to go, I think. Make it happen. I'm still learning it.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
I gotta figure out how to shut the check up on the landing gear.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
This is what I meant by hovering. I love doing that.
Landing gear. Landing gear. Landing gear.
Airplanes are so easy to fly. Especially if you got all kinds of power like that. Anyway. That was me acting stupid in a F-15 wannabe. Coffee. Alright, I reckon I can do this news thing and get out of here. I don't know, might even play for a moment after I'm done. Let's see. Few vapes. Loaded up a fresh pod with a green apple. Pretty tasty. I don't know how tasty green apple, like a Jolly Rancher green apple and coffee are together, but I'm making it happen. Alright, let's see. Epstein document dump is a cover-up, says plaintiff. Now, I've been hearing this quite a bit today, and to be honest, I haven't read this article. I don't follow stuff like this, like that, because, to me, all this kind of stuff is being used as a distraction, plain and simple. It says a much-hyped trove of nearly 1,000 newly unsealed pages of court documents from the 2015 defamation case filed by a victim of infamous pedophile Jeffrey Epstein contains no revelations, conservative commentator Mike Cernovich claimed on Wednesday in a post on X, Twitter, whatever. Cernovich, working with Epstein, a defense attorney and accused sex trafficking participant Alan Dershowitz, sued to have Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Guthrie's defamation lawsuit unsealed in 2017 and has previously claimed credit for the predator's 2019 arrest. In his post, he claimed the Southern District of New York had arrested Epstein in 2019, the weekend before the documents were first set to be unsealed as a result of his lawsuit, so as to prevent any of Epstein's powerful friends soon to be exposed in the documents from being criminally charged. To bolster his argument, he highlighted that the SDNY had the option to bring charges against Epstein relating to the alleged payment for sex with minors between 2002 and 2005 at any point from 2002 onward. However, they chose to wait until just days before the previously sealed records involving Jeff Epstein were set to become public. These records contain the names of numerous influential figures to whom Epstein had allegedly trafficked underage girls. The indictment against Epstein does not charge anyone except Epstein, and there is nothing to indicate that anyone who flew to Epstein's private island has faced scrutiny, Cernovich continued, arguing that SDNY charged the lowest level offenses possible so that they would be legally unable to raid that island or even the pedophile's New Mexico ranch for weeks, allowing evidence to vanish. At least one safe, said to be in FBI custody, has never been seen again. Meanwhile, Epstein himself died, allegedly by his own hand, shortly after his arrest while still in pretrial detention, the charges against him never having been aired inside a courtroom. Acknowledging that, we'll never know for certain what was in the vanished safe, Cernovich insisted. We do know that the FBI has Jeffrey Epstein's blackmail files, and that very powerful forces have made sure we will never see it. And that's the thing that I don't get. Everybody wants to say that they're for fighting this trafficking and all that. Oh yeah, you are? How come we can't get a big enough amount of people to gather? The trick to doing this, it isn't going to D.C. because so many people can't do that. And even those that could do it, how long could they do it for? No, and you have to understand, there has to be an occupation. That's the only way it works. There has to be an occupation. If people that truly were against the trafficking thing would organize and meet at their county courthouses, everybody go to their county courthouse and occupy the property, all you'd have to do is get 10% of the nation involved, and it would shut down the courtrooms across the nation. And I do damn well believe that would make a statement. I do believe that would make a statement. But it just takes that organization. You'll never see it happen because it's probably already been tried. And they shut that stuff down real quick. Real quick. But if you ever want to really see change in a nation, that's how you do it. You assemble people at their county courthouses. And I am telling you, you will be amazed at how quickly things turn around. Hang on a second. Alright. I didn't even see Amazon come up. Did you? Apparently they did. Hang on a second. They delivered it all sneaky like. Did that ninja skills, I guess. Yippee-yay. I didn't want it to leak. Well, I wanted to get out and set up right. Hang on. Liquid. Oops. Huh, I didn't realize that cable was just laying out like that. My fiber optic cable. Okay. Okay, let's see. Sorry about that. I just noticed the email that had been delivered. I'm like, huh? I looked at the camera, sure enough. Alright. Next up, we have the article about that shooter. It says gunman brings bomb to school. A teenage student at Perry High School in Iowa shot 6 people at the school before turning the gun on himself, police told reporters on Thursday. One victim, a 6th grader, died at the scene while 4 other students and the school's principal, Dan Marburger, were hospitalized. The one article I thought said a couple teachers. An improvised explosive device was discovered during a subsequent systematic search of the school, police said. However, the Iowa Fire Marshal and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms eventually rendered the device safe. Police declined to share any details about the explosive device beyond describing it as rudimentary and reassuring the public there was no further danger. Police were called to the scene at 7:37 a.m. local time ahead of the start of classes on what would have been the students' first day back from winter break. School didn't start yet, luckily, so there was very few students and faculty in the building, which I think contributed to a good outcome in that sense, Dallas County Sheriff Adam Infant, I'm not sure how that would be pronounced, told the media. The FBI is assisting the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation in the probe. The attacker, identified by local media as Dylan Butler, was carrying a small caliber handgun and a pump-action shotgun, according to the Iowa agency's Assistant Director Mitch Mortvedt, who praised the law enforcement response at the scene, which reportedly brought 150 officers from local, state, and federal levels as swift and immediate. Mortvedt declined to share details on a possible motive for the shooting, explaining that anything into the background of him is part of the investigation, and we're obviously going to take a deep dive into that. However, he confirmed that the gunman had made a number of social media posts in and around the time of the shooting, evidence police were working to secure. In other words, make unavailable to you. The White House was briefed on the incident and wastes no time issuing a plea for gun control legislation. What a surprise. It's only the 4th day in the new year, and we're already faced with yet another horrific school shooting. And the question that we ask is, when will enough be enough? Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had asked. So I got to speak up again on this, because I have to speak up every time that there's a school shooting. And this one, I can tell you 110% is because of what I'm about to say. If anybody's never questioned how come we have school shootings now, because we didn't. When I went to high school, we had kids that carried guns in the gun racks of their pickup trucks to school. Nobody batted an eye. Why was that allowed? And why wasn't people so afraid of mass shootings? School shootings in particular. The answer is, the only place that things ever escalated to that point was like in the big cities, where you already had problems with guns and everything else to begin with. However, you didn't have that problem in most of America. And the reason why is because, and I'm just going to put it bluntly, kids were allowed to blacken each other's eyes. They were allowed to roll around in the ditch put some scrapes, some bumps, some bruises on one another. More often than not, come out best friends in all of it and go on with their lives. That's not possible today. There is none of that venting that's allowed to go on, with all this no tolerance stuff. I am convinced that what happens in these children's psyche is that it builds up, it builds up, it builds up. There's no outlet. And when they do have to have that out, and everybody's different when it comes to where it is that they've got to have that out. We've all got it. We have all got it. Don't bullshit yourself. It's just which level. Which level does it take for you to go full retard? The reason I can speak on this is because I was one of those troubled kids. I was one of those kids that was picked on nonstop. And I know what it's like to have the thoughts. Now, whatever a person has in their own inner strength and their own inner will is going to be what decides what's going to happen. I wasn't a weak person. I would be lying if I said, I never thought about doing something. I'm not picking anything in particular out, but yeah, when I was in school, I was picked on incessantly. I mean, some of the shit was stupid. The thing that bothered me the most was all of the he said, she said bullshit. All of the kids, did you hear what Callahan said? I didn't say it. That's what got me the most. But I never reached a point to where I felt some big out was necessary, because I was the kind of person that I would kick somebody's ass if I needed to. Fortunately, I didn't have too many of those points in high school, points in time, those periods to where I felt like I needed to do something. And I did. I was involved in a couple of fights in high school. But I tried to keep it at a minimum. And the reason why is because those poor kids didn't deserve that. I guarantee you, if you could survive my dad, those high school kids were pussies. I can guarantee it. Wasn't too much that scared me. What scared me the most is that I wouldn't stop. And that's why I tried to be passive. That's why I tried not to fight. Because I did have an anger problem when I was young. I had a real big anger problem when I was young. And I would get so pissed off. I call it blackout pissed. Because I swear there were times I was so pissed I have no recollection of what I did. So I didn't want to put anybody at the receiving end of that. And I'm 51 years old. I can still say I've never put anybody on the receiving end of the hate and everything that was caused from my father. Oh, okay. I guess you shared an article on the shooting. But yeah, it kind of is what it is. Now, today, you don't have any type of an out because kids can't fight one another, blacken each other's eyes because, well, it stopped before it started. And there's no tolerance. No tolerance. And believe me, as being a picked-on student, going to the administration of the school and stuff, that goes nowhere. In fact, that makes things worse. I can tell you right now, in our school, when I went there, and it was a good school for the most part when I went there. Now it's like any other public school. But when I went there, they had a damn good curriculum. The students that graduated there had an education. It's a really good school for the most part. However, you couldn't go to the administration. Why? Well, the only ones that got catered to were those like the football players. If you were in sports and whatnot, you would be catered to. Me, I wasn't involved in much of any kind of activities other than the smoking lounge. The only group that I belonged to in high school was a group called Lifesavers, which was a peer support group. I had minor training on dealing with people going through, minor crises and stuff. How to help out with that, how to refer them to somebody more professional if need be. And I thought my involvement with that was important. Other than that, I didn't give two shits what the school did. But if I could have helped out another kid, I was all for that. And so I did take part in that program. But other than that, no sports, no science club, no nothing. Let me the hell out of class. But I'm telling you, that's why we have school shootings now, because the kids can't deal with it in any other way. It's going to get dealt with. At some point, some of these kids are going to deal with the situation. You can't choose the terms if you eliminate all the terms. You know what I mean? When there's no tolerance, then you can't guide the terms there. It's much better two kids fighting in the ditch than one kid bringing a gun to school. But you can't tell that to these ignoramuses with whatever the hell. Big salaries. It's where most of your public tax area or your home taxes go and stuff, property taxes and stuff goes to the administration of these schools, where the large majority of it goes. Absolutely mind-blowing. Anyway, let's see. I was looking up at the chat. Let me get to the right window here. British Colonel says NATO will send troops to Ukraine if the country collapses within the 2024, the crucial decision. Within 2024, the crucial decision. Something like that. Coffee. Thank goodness that the winter solstice is done and gone. I hate these short days, man. I can't stand for it to be dark at 5 p.m. Drives me up a wall. Alright. Why don't we do this? Instead of all this time change bullshit we do, how about 6 o'clock is when the sun comes up? This ought to work out swell. 6 o'clock, right? When the sun comes up. That's 6 o'clock when the sun rises. It sets at 8 o'clock, and then you got to figure out the rest in between. Right? It's almost like our dumbasses continuing to use standard instead of going to metric, because we're just a bunch of dumbasses. When I was younger, I was like, they want us to switch to metric? I'm not switching to metric. I'm an American. Standard. That's the way to go. And I get older and I realize how much more simple metric is, and I'm like, you propagandistic bastards making me learn standard whenever metric was so much easier. Makes no sense. Anyway, we're idiots. Just understand that Americans are idiots. There are much simpler ways of doing things that we refuse to do for no good reason. Nobody can make the good reason to why we didn't switch to metric. The only reason why I felt the way about it is because I heard my dad talk that way about it. I guarantee that's the only reason I hated metric so much was because he hated metric so much. God. I guess that makes me measurementist. Measurist. I'm measurist. That's it. I'm measurist. Have to pay back some kind of reparations or something. Let's see. The crucial decision on Ukraine will be made in 2024, said a British colonel who believes that if the Russian armed forces make serious progress and Ukraine collapses, the North Atlantic Alliance will be forced to send troops. This means a Russia-NATO war in the coming years. The British seem to be aligning themselves with the Germans. We remind you that German analysts, the Minister of Defense of Germany, Boris Pistorius, poor guy, and the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz revealed in Bundestag that Europe must be rearmed immediately in a short period of time as war with Russia approaches. And this is because after Ukraine, Poland, the Baltic countries, and now Finland are the next fields of NATO-Russia military confrontation. Let's see. NATO will send troops to Ukraine. Hamish Din Breton Gordon, a retired colonel of the British Army, sees this scenario as very likely and will depend on what decision is made regarding the course of the conflict. This view was expressed by the British chemical weapons expert and former commander of the British ABC Weapons Regiment in an interview on Talk TV. The West has already done everything for Kiev's troops, from aid to humanitarian aid to the supply of weapons, so the last step left is to send in its own troops. So far, this has been avoided, but if Russia makes serious progress in the Ukraine war, it cannot be ruled out that NATO members, mainly the U.S. and Great Britain, as well as other Western allies, such as Australia, will have to reconsider the position then, he said. I hope folks are paying attention. Let's see. When asked specifically whether the collective West would send its own troops to fight alongside Kiev in 2024, de Breton Gordon replied, "It is not beyond the realm of possibility that if serious progress is made on the front by Russia, NATO and Western allies such as Australia will have to reconsider their stance." Didn't I just say that? The colonel says that any move depends on NATO countries' assessment of the magnitude of the threat to them from Russia after its victory in Ukraine. This could really mean the possibility of British and other forces fighting in Ukraine. The West can avoid this necessity by expanding the supply of military equipment, especially ammunition, he stressed. However, if these end, the West will have to make a decision: peace with Russia or formal involvement of NATO in Ukraine and Eastern Europe in general. Now, I want to point out the choices that even they give there. Peace with Russia or war with Russia. Why is it that peace with Russia is not an option actually being looked at here? Because I've not seen that looked at by the West at all. And any time that Ukraine wanted to have discussions with Russia, the United States and other partners in the West would, "Oh no, you can't do that." As Ukraine is sending all those people to die. It's mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. And I'll be honest, I thought that the situation in Ukraine was going to be wrapped up by now. I'll be honest. I thought it was going to have a bow on it. But they've got some awfully stupid people in Ukraine. I can tell you that. Because there is nothing that would get me to go to that front line for Ukraine. Nothing. for several reasons. For one, I don't support their cause. I'd give a shit. They're about as corrupt of a country as what you get. No. That's number one. Number two, that's almost certain death. That is almost certain death. And they still find people that are willing to go and fight. I mean, I don't know. I ain't that stupid. New escalation. U.S. kills commander of Shiite organization Hairkat, Hezbollah al-Nujaba in Iraq. So there is more assassinating going on here. At least 4 militants were killed and 6 others wounded in a drone attack on the headquarters of the Iran-backed Hairkat Hezbollah al-Nujaba in eastern Baghdad today, Reuters and AP news agencies reported. Police sources and witnesses said at least 2 rockets hit a building used by the Iraqi paramilitary group, which is a part of the Hashid al-Shabi, or Shabby, we'll call them Shabby, coalition of paramilitary groups. Hey, that group's not too shabby. Not too shabby. That's going to be the name of my group, right? Not too shabby. Not too shabby. It kind of sounds Middle Eastern, does it not? Spokesman for the Al-Nujaba said not too shabby, said 4 of its fighters were killed, including the group's operations commander, known as Abu Taqwa al-Sidi. Okay, well, that's a little shabby there. While also accusing of the U.S. of carrying out the attack. Iraqi police and security sources said they had no further information on who may have carried out the attack pending a government investigation. Last month, the United States launched retaliatory airstrikes in Iraq after a drone attack by Iran-linked militants seriously wounded 1 member of the U.S. forces and injured 2 others. Tell you what, they're going to come across that group not too shabby and get their eye poked out. Israel says change of course with gradual withdrawal of troops from northern Gaza. Says operations are not paying off. Now, the United States has just asked them to pull back. But they've made it clear that they didn't pull back because the United States said pull back. It's a bunch of crap going on. Israel, see, here's the thing. They're starting to lose face with what's going on. Everybody knows it. And so now it's time to scale back. And to me, it's disgusting. To me, it's absolutely disgusting what's going on. Says here, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Galad tonight presented the Israeli government's plans for the next phase of the war in Gaza, with a more targeted approach to the northern part of the Palestinian enclave and continued operations in the south. They've also got another battle going on with Lebanon, or will have. In the southern part of the Gaza Strip, the Israeli army is focused on its efforts on eliminating the leadership of Hamas and returning the hostages. Operations will continue for as long as necessary, the statement issued by the minister emphasizes. After the war, Hamas will no longer control Gaza, which will be administered by Palestinian bodies as long as there is no threat to Israel. Israel will retain the right to take action in the enclave, but there will be no presence of Israeli citizens there, Galad noted, or added. So you see, they're starting to pull back even on some of this stuff. Says, however, Galant's announcement sparked an intra-government backlash as Bezalel, or whatever, Smotrich, Israel's finance minister, said the newly announced plan for the day after the war was a repeat of the situation in Gaza before October 7. Instead, Smotrich supports what he calls voluntary migration, which many Palestinians and rights groups see as forced displacement and the renewal of illegal settlements in the enclave. So, I don't know. I've got my opinion on it, but not going to be shared by many. I don't think Israel needs anything to do with Palestine. I think that they need to build up that border wall good. They need to have a DMZ. And Israel, nothing at all to do with Palestine and the Palestinian. None of them. Nothing. Not in the least little bit. Let Egypt kind of not take over, but, I'm sorry. If what was going on there happened to Americans, that's the thing. I will not look at a situation and throw out my opinion on a situation unless I put myself in their shoes. And if I had land that was in my family for generations, and it came my turn to own that land, and I'm living on that land that was in my family's name for generations, and just because a bunch of rich cats in some meeting decided that it wasn't my land no more, I'm not going to give it up. There's going to be a fight. There is going to be a fight. You better believe that, and I think that any true red-blooded American would do the same. So it's kind of hard for me to just, I have to side with Israel. Why? Because people told me to side with Israel. No, that's not a reason. Again, we default back to that what is right, what is wrong. Taking people's land that was not rightfully yours is bullshit. I can't make that right. There's no way to make that right. But the Bible said, no, the Bible didn't say that. That is not what the Bible said. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. I guess I got the headlines and then clear shot to the door. Run out, light my hair on fire, run up and down the street. About 5 minutes before the men in white coats show up. Tase my ass and take me to the hospital. Anyway, let's do some headlines where I come up with other great ideas. Ukraine arrests bloggers for exposing air defense failures. A homeless population surges in rural England, says study. Ukraine has no plan B if U.S. stops aid, says foreign minister. Well, not clear what Ukraine is doing with American tanks, says Forbes. Who knows? Germany issues update on long-range rockets for Ukraine. I mean, we don't know where the tanks are going. Let's send them a bunch of more ammunition. Oil extends gains on supply concerns. Israel partially withdraw. Oh, that was what I read. Trump appeals Colorado ballot ban. Eurozone recession likely, says S&P. Really? I mean, just now you're saying that? Okay. Not like we've been in a recession for the past 3 years. Let's see. Foreign aid to Ukraine reaches over $200 billion, says Russian MOD. Grocery chain drops PepsiCo products over unacceptable pricing, says a report. Uh-oh. PepsiCo price gouging, are they? They own everything. Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut. I mean, they own everything. Let's see. Didn't there used to be some kind of antitrust laws? What happened to that? Oh, Republicans? That's what it was. Okay. Apple downgrade may lead to tech wreck. Ukraine suffering severe frontline ammo shortages, says Spanish media. U.S. and South Korea hold live fire drills close to North's border. Red Sea unrest sends freight rates skyrocketing, says media. Israel won't take orders from the U.S., says security minister. That was said after they took orders from the U.S. Israel, I was going to repeat that. Bomb threats trigger mass evacuations across the U.S. The second day of that, by the way. Central Asian state calls Russia key ally. Ukraine reveals number of prosecuted draft dodgers. Let's see. Israel is killing us without mercy as the fighting in Gaza continues. Civilians are starting to lose hope. Foreigners fighting for Russia to be granted citizenship. Epstein documents reveal government complicity. You think? Ukraine can work with Trump, says foreign minister. Polish opposition calls for mass protests to protect democracy. SpaceX fired Musk critics, says watchdog. Abandoning English is stupid, says Lavrov. Wall Street Journal says Russia plans to supply ballistic missiles from Iran. In a state of panic, Kiev requested a meeting of the NATO and Ukraine Council and will ask for increased aid. Ukraine says one of the largest Russian cyber attacks hit the telecommunications company Kyivstar, something like that. What are the consequences? Probably not much. Let's see. Ukraine says I said that headline. Iran says the Islamic State takes responsibility for the 100 dead at the Soleimani's memorial service, which probably means they're going to be whooping up on somebody. Ukrainian agents burned down a Russian Su-34 fighter jet in Chelyabinsk, Russia. Yeah, guys, I'm sure I got that nowhere right. Covered that one. And that one. Let's see. BAE Systems and U.S. Army deal to restart production of the M777 howitzer. Let's see. Change of course with gradual I read that. Let's see. And that. North Korean ballistic missiles hit Ukraine. Russia prepares for F-16 crisis. Iranian Dazful targets Romania and Poland. Let's see. Ukraine's top general asks politicians to fight, says media. Ukraine targets Crimea with drones and missiles. And lastly, another Biden official resigns over Israel policy. Fun. Anyway, that is what happened. I have no idea what's going to happen. But I do know I got a couple of days off, and I'm going to think as little about it as possible. And on that note, I am going to get the heck out of here. And, I don't know. I might play around in the plane for a little bit. We'll see. I will talk to you all Sunday, God willing. I hope you all have a good weekend. Have a good evening. I appreciate you coming. Hope to see you back Sunday night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.